I think the older that I get, the more priority it is for me and my life to be aligned. This is a very complicated feeling. I want to live in purpose and I want to be a creative, grounded being, but it also comes with a lot of confusion. Lately, I've just kind of been going through an existential crisis, honestly. I think this is about the right age for that to happen, right? I'm 26 years old and I continue to feel that I am wanting to and that I am aligning with my purpose. I would say my purpose is really the word that aligns the most with me is connection. I want to connect with people. I always want to connect with people on a really deep level, hence this podcast, and just understand people, make people feel seen. I yearn to feel seen as we all do. But the more I align with my purpose and create from that place, it dawns on me that a lot of life is sales. And this perspective has really messed with me. It's so interesting because in this new role of myself, I am selling from a subjective point of view. You could say I'm practically selling me. I am my brand, selling myself. It's just so complicated because I try to come at life more authentic and genuine. Like that is my priority. So for that to be aligned with sales is so complicated. So let's dive into it. My existential crisis is that everything is sales. Let me explain myself. Any famous person that you've ever imagined, let's say Elvis Presley, let's say Michael Jackson, Taylor Swift, Selena, all of these household names that everybody knows around the world, they had to sell themselves. They had to sell their music. They had to take the small gigs first. I mean, like maybe besides freaking Michael Jackson, since he was like famous since he was like 5 years old, but like Taylor Swift, she had to take the small gigs little by little, getting bigger, country music and then pop. Selena, if you've seen Selena the series on Netflix, amazing show, highly recommend. But you're tailoring and changing for what the people are asking for. There's this one scene in specific that comes to mind where she's in Mexico and there's a crowd and she's trying to sing American pop music. And in the middle of the song, they switch up to Tejano music, which is obviously what she's known for, is Mexican Tejano music. She switches up and the people start eating it up and they start dancing. And it's just such a weird thing to think of. I feel like this, maybe, I don't know if this is just me, I'm sure it's not, but I feel like we all isolate ourselves in this way, or just when we look up to people, I think that sometimes we can put ourselves down when we put people on a pedestal. Obviously, nobody should be on a pedestal, but growing up while Instagram is blowing up and being a girl, I think sometimes it's just hard not to do that. And I've always just looked at these people as if they were higher, above, better, right? And in reality, if you take the consumer out of the equation, they don't have the same fame. We provide them the fame that they have, the sales that they have, the ability to tour, the ability to continue to create music, and all of these things. And I recently understood this because I am getting more comfortable at my job with new products that I have to learn about, obviously, that we use. When I started working at a med spa, the product lines that I had to learn about were medical grade, obviously. Now I had a lot of meetings with the educators from these brands to help me better understand, better be able to articulate what the products do. And this is where the sales mindset started, because it made me uncomfortable, not only that I had to learn so fast about the products, but know how to articulate to be able to sell. But I also always want to come from a place where I'm being authentic. So I never want to sell anything that I don't actually have first hand impression on. I want to use everything that I'm selling. I want to see the results from everything that I'm selling. And I'm grateful to be like that. And I want to be authentic. But it's just such an interesting topic that really everything is sales. Nobody can pass this. If there's a movie, they have to do a trailer. If there is a product, you're going to do a campaign. The highest people in the industry, like think of the Kardashians. If Kim is dropping a new collection for Skims, she's gonna have a campaign. Nobody can really escape this. Like, you can have a great product, and if you have awful marketing, you're not gonna get any sales, and vice versa. If you have a crappy product, but your marketing is on top, I'm going to buy your product. Like, it's just that simple. If something looks pretty and you sell it to me well, I'm going to want it more. Literally can be the same picture with bad lighting and I'm going to want it more. And so saying that out loud almost like pisses me off of myself and of consumerism, because it's just, I don't know, how our brains are wired to look more towards beauty is kind of annoying. I don't know. And then it also creates this, I don't know, it feels imbalanced, I want to say, of where that puts us on a consumerism point of view, because we're in a day and age that there's such a strong culture of consumerism. Everything is a sale. You drive on the highway and there's billboards. You go on your phone and there's ads. Our attention, our time is constantly being tugged at. And at the same time, more people than ever are trying to create consciously and creatively. And I kind of just want to shed light on what this means for us as consumers and just bring awareness to taking accountability for what our intention is, what our role in all of this is. So with everything being sales, let's think about this in all different perspectives. Literally, schools sell degrees, influencers sell lifestyles, wellness sells healing, even authenticity is marketed now. So every job, every industry really is sales. Thinking about it from that aspect, I think, is really helpful for me and humbling to think that in one way or another, we're all trying to succeed in the same way. And I think that there's some power in that. But as someone that my job and my branding is myself, there also comes this confusion of, is there enough space for everybody? There's already so many creators. The industry is so saturated, and just feeling like, is there space for me? And I think that that's okay to feel. I think that to one extent or another, everybody has felt like that. And I think that in reality, yes, the industry is saturated, but also we're just comparing ourselves more. This day and age, when social media is so accessible and anybody anywhere can post anything, that's the toxic part of the consumerism part of sales and marketing, is that our attention and our time is also being pulled at. And that's where we ourselves have to have the boundaries of what we're consuming. And obviously this consumerism is such a huge part of this conversation, but that aspect of creating versus comparing, right? Because humans are meant to create. That is what makes us feel good. Back in time, all we did was create homes, create families, create food. We were foragers, we were hunters. So all of these hands-on activities, it makes sense why, that puts us more in alignment with what we are meant to do, what we are made for. So when we're constantly just literally consuming social media, consuming excessive amounts of clothes, consuming an excess amounts of content, whether that be on TV or movies, whatever it is. But at the same time, we are always going to consume. Before the TV was first created, it was theater and Broadway and singing together. Like entertainment is also a part of being human. But I think that the social media aspect of it has made it really difficult on our nervous system, because this is the part where we have to be really conscious consumers and create our own boundaries around it. There can literally be a million of the same products, let's say a million yoga teachers, and I can connect to one teacher because of the smallest thing. I think this goes back to feeling like there's not enough space for everyone just because everything can be so overly saturated. But at the same time, I can connect to someone for maybe because they literally had the same dog as me or they had the same necklace as me. Like it can be so simple, and everybody's meaning for connection is very different. How they connect is very different. What they value is very different. So it's like, yes, there are things that are oversaturated and there are a lot of things to consume, but in reality, this is not something that's going away anytime soon. It's only going to get bigger. And at the end of the day, my purpose, like I said, is to connect. And even if that's one person that's listening to me that makes them feel less alone or more understood or inspired, I want to create that. And I think that sometimes it's the simplest things. Like I love consuming content of organization and show me what's in your purse. Like I want to be nosy. I want to be in on this. So it can be just the simplest, lightest things. Those little small things can make such a difference in someone's life. I think not only the entertainment part of consumerism, but also the connection part of consumerism is such a beautiful aspect of it. So I'm kind of just walking myself through all of the emotions that go under this hood of everything being sales and us living in a consumerism world. I'm going all over the place, but this is such an interesting topic, and I feel like I'm literally unraveling coils in my brain right now of this huge monster of sales and advertisement and of marketing. You market correctly and you have an audience, and that audience can give you success. But just the idea that everything in life is consumerism, it's crazy. It's crazy. But there's such a positive aspect to it too. I think also of, let's say, the food industry, us consumers in the food industry. That's also so amazing. I think that it's so cool that we can, like, especially in Miami, there's so much cuisine here. And I think it's so cool that you can try food from all over the world. And really, I think that is such a connecting experience. I think the beautiful part of a consumerism, and I'll put this on a more positive note, it gives a sense of community, because at the end of the day, we all truly need each other. Every single person on this earth has a role, no matter how huge or how small it is. We all need each other. I wouldn't know how to make a cute pajama set that I like to go to sleep in every night. I wouldn't know how to make that. And thank God that I can outsource that. Thank God that I can outsource a computer that I have to do my work on. Thank God that I can go to the grocery store and there's people that work there. There is so much value in all of the different roles. And I think that that's such a beautiful part of the consumer culture, is that I think that we can flip that if we think of it positively and if we do it genuinely and authentically. I think we can switch consumerism culture to be a community culture. If we all appreciate each other, if we speak to each other kindly, and just put perspective on the fact that every sales has a value, every product has a purpose. And I think now a lot of people really are creating from a intentional space and point of view. I think that's such a beautiful part of, I feel, where things are shifting into is I think now people are wanting to add value to other people's lives. And I feel like more and more these are the industries and the new products, the new places, especially in Miami. I feel like there's been so many, like, let's say yoga studios that have so much intention, that have so much community behind them. There's so many restaurants that are family owned, and people on social media are wanting to show a real day in their life and not everything so primed and perfect. It's really interesting to think that we're really all figuring this out together. Social media and advertisement and phones, like, we are one of the first generations. Like, iPhone came out, I don't even know, let's see. The first iPhone came out in 2007. So it's been, oh my God, it's crazy. It's been almost 20 years. I mean, we're really figuring this all out together. I even see like grandparents and older people that are scrolling and maybe have bad boundaries with consuming. So I think that it's okay to give ourselves grace with the ups and downs of it, and choosing to look at it from a positive light and understanding that this can add value. This can be such a great sense of community. I just think that that's something that we have to choose to reframe ourselves, to choose to have these boundaries that really we all have to have. Be really conscious when we're selling and consuming. And I just think it's so important to really get back to the basics, to sit with ourselves, understand ourselves, what our intentions are, what we have, what are we actually lacking, what areas in our lives are we thriving in, where can we be doing better, taking a self inventory of where you are, what you value, what are your morals, what are your goals, and then everything else that comes to you, decisions can be made from a more conscious and intentional point of view and aspect. I think everything in life can be a form of toxic consumption if we're not careful. That's where we really have to be intentional. And I think when we get really granular and specific about who we are and what we desire, then we can more consciously consume, and we can have a better perspective on consumerism in general and reframing where we're coming from. I think when you pull back and really understand yourself and strip back the sales part of it, because for example, a course isn't just education, it's the promise of a new identity. A wellness program or information, it's not just information, it's hope. Skincare isn't just skincare, it's confidence. So when we peel away those layers and really understand ourselves and put ourselves first, our mental health first, our confidence first, we can be better decision makers about what we consume, about the things that are being sold to us. I remember one time I was listening to a podcast from Leo Skepi, and he was explaining how the consumerism world, it works by putting something in front of you. Your mind wanders about how amazing your life would be if that product or education or lifestyle was in your life. And then not consuming it almost just puts you on a lower frequency because you just imagined how amazing and great your life would be if this thing that's being sold to you would be a part of your life. And then you remove that and you're like, well, now look at me. Like, what do I have? I don't have that. And so now I'm just like stuck down here. And I really just think that having the conversation, understanding that, puts it into perspective, because not only does the consumer part encourage us to compare ourselves to other people and to other things, but it also makes us compare ourselves to a version of ourselves that doesn't exist at the moment and that is only real in our imagination. I'm reading this book right now called The Gap and the Gain, and that's exactly what the gap mindset is looking at something in a perspective of lacking, how it should be, how it could feel, how it would be. You could have a goal, let's say, to make $50,000 a year. Then you hit $50,000 and you want to make $100,000. You make $100,000 and it just keeps elevating and elevating and elevating. But too often we're measuring our success from where we are in the moment and where we want to be rather than where we are in the moment and where we've been. So now let's say I'm making $500,000 a year and I want to make 1 million. Well, instead of thinking about that, why don't I just think about the 5 years ago when my goal was to make $50,000 a year? And look where I am now. And it's literally just the shift in perspective and the shift in mindset and choosing to have a positive mindset. That perspective alone transforms how you view every single thing in your life. This can apply to relationships with people. This applies to your relationship with yourself, with your work ethic, with how educated you are, with how you genuinely feel about yourself and your life. It's so crazy how powerful the mind is and how we think about things change how they are. Going back to this whole sales and consumerism thing, even during this episode, I'm kind of going back and forth with there can be such a negative aspect on it, right? There can be, oh my God, it's so oversaturated. There's no room for me. Everyone is trying to sell me something. Or I can look at it the aspect of there's room for everyone, that it's such a blessing to be able to connect with people. It's such a blessing to be able to market myself and for that to be so easily accessible. What an amazing thing that we have so many inventions in the world and we all need each other and we are a community and it's a community across the whole entire world. There's people across the world in India, clothes made from India. I have food imported from Europe in my pantry. That's amazing. That's so cool. And guess what? That took a tribe. That took the people having the idea to create it. That took the factory to make. That took the airplane to fly over here. That took the truck driver to drive here. That takes so many people. And that is so amazing. And that is so special that we have that access. And then guess what? All these people that are working so hard, they can come to my job and I can make them feel good. I can give them a moment of silence and sound healing. I can give them some perspective in my podcast. I can give them a moment of self-care while they're getting a facial. It's that perspective alone. And this is something that I've struggled with for so long is because there's this space that I can come from that they're exactly that. They're so opposite. For example, I can choose at my job as a facialist, as an esthetician, I can look at myself when I give people facials. I can view myself as, oh my gosh, like this person is so much better than me. They have the time to spoil themselves and give themselves self-care. And like, I'm just working for them. Like I'm just below them. I can put myself in that perspective, or I can choose to think, I'm so grateful to help this person. I'm so grateful to give this person a moment of silence. I'm so grateful to help provide them in their self-care journey and educate them on how they can better support themselves and their skin and their life and their energy and all of these things. So I will leave it here because I think that honestly, when I began this conversation, I didn't really know where this was going. And all of these thoughts float around in my mind so much, just about sales and consumerism and boundaries and perspectives. And it's so interesting to think that they really all go together and that it all comes down to you can choose the life you want to live. You can choose the perspectives you see. You can choose how happy you are, how successful you feel, how peaceful you feel, just by shifting how you view life. And obviously, it's not an easy thing. It's something that we have to work on every single day. But I try to remind myself what a blessing that is to have the freedom to do so. Awareness and perspective is everything. It's literally our power. Rather than being overwhelmed, I think it's important to slow down, get intentional, understand yourself. At the end of this day, we still get to choose how we see things, how we feel about things. We get to choose what we buy, literally and emotionally. We get to choose what stories we believe about ourselves, about success, about sales, and about what we need in order to be enough. Marketing will always exist. Consumerism culture isn't going anywhere. But when we are conscious, we stop moving on autopilot. We stop chasing every promise of transformation, and we start asking whether something actually feels aligned with the life we're trying to build. I don't think the goal is to stop consuming or stop creating. It's just to stay connected to ourselves while we do it, to not let the outside world decide our worth, our pace, or our direction. Because when we are more aware, the less power all of the noise has over us, and the more power we have of our own lives and the impact that we have on other people's lives. Just something to think about. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me ramble about my epiphany, about my existential crisis. Thank you for letting me go all over the place. And as always, thank you for holding space for me. New podcast episodes every Tuesday. You can find me on Instagram at Stephanie_Manji. And I will talk to you next Tuesday. Love you. Bye.